For decades, the stories you're about to hear were dismissed as conspiracy theories. People who believed them were called paranoid, unrealistic, or simply misinformed. But years later, government investigations, whistleblowers, and declassified documents revealed something uncomfortable. Some of those conspiracies were not theories at all, a mirror to those conspiracies of today. In this video, we're looking at 5 cases where official records eventually confirmed what many people once believed was impossible. These stories involve secret military plans, unethical medical experiments, intelligence programs, and global surveillance. And every one of them is supported by documented evidence. But before we begin, there's a small detail hidden inside one of these cases that most people completely miss. It's a piece of information that changes how you look at the entire story. See if you can spot it as we go. Number 5. In 1962, the United States was deep in Cold War tensions with Cuba. Just months earlier, the Cuban Missile Crisis had pushed the world dangerously close to nuclear war. Behind the scenes, senior military leaders in the United States developed a plan that would later shock historians. The proposal was known as Operation Northwoods. Drafted by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and presented to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, the plan suggested staging or fabricating attacks that could be blamed on the Cuban government. The goal was simple: create public support for military intervention against Fidel Castro. The proposals outlined in the documents were disturbing. One idea involved staging hijackings of civilian aircraft. Another suggested sinking boats carrying Cuban refugees and blaming the incident on Cuban forces. One scenario even proposed creating a fake military attack on a U.S. aircraft and publicly attributing it to Cuba. These ideas were not rumors or speculation. They appeared in official memorandums signed by General Lyman Lemnitzer, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. President John F. Kennedy ultimately rejected the proposal, and the operation was never carried out. But the documents themselves were very real. They remained classified for decades before being released in the 1990s through the JFK Assassination Records Review Board. Operation Northwoods stands today as one of the clearest examples of a plan that sounded like conspiracy fiction, yet existed in official government records. And it raises an uncomfortable question. If a proposal like this could reach the president's desk, how many others never became public? Number 4. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service began a medical study in Macon County, Alabama. The project would later become one of the most infamous ethical scandals in medical history. The study involved 600 African American men. 399 of them had syphilis. 201 did not. The men were told they were receiving treatment for what doctors described as bad blood. In reality, researchers were secretly studying how syphilis progressed when left untreated. Even more disturbing, when penicillin became widely available in the 1940s as a highly effective cure, the participants were deliberately denied the medication. Doctors wanted to continue observing the disease. The study continued for 40 years. Many of the men suffered severe complications. Some passed the disease to their wives. Others died from the infection. In 1972, a whistleblower named Peter Buxton leaked details of the study to the press. The story sparked national outrage. Congress launched an investigation, and the experiment was finally shut down. Decades later, in 1997, President Bill Clinton formally apologized on behalf of the United States government to the surviving participants and their families. For many people, the idea that a government health program could allow something like this to continue for decades sounded unbelievable. But the records proved it had happened. Number 3. For years, people suspected governments were monitoring large amounts of private communications. Many dismissed those concerns as paranoia. Then, in 2013, a former intelligence contractor named Edward Snowden changed the conversation. Snowden had worked with the National Security Agency through private contractors, including Booz Allen Hamilton. While stationed in Hawaii, he copied thousands of classified documents detailing secret surveillance programs. He later provided those files to journalists including Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras. Among the revelations was a system known as PRISM. According to the documents, PRISM allowed intelligence agencies to collect internet communications from major technology companies under certain legal authorities. Another tool, called X-Keyscore, reportedly allowed analysts to search through massive databases of emails, browsing histories, and online activity. Additional documents showed intelligence agencies collecting phone metadata, records showing who called whom, when, and for how long. Officials argued these programs were necessary for national security and counterterrorism. Critics warned they represented an unprecedented expansion of government surveillance. The revelations sparked global debates about digital privacy, government oversight, and the limits of intelligence gathering in the modern world. For many people, it confirmed suspicions that had once been dismissed as conspiracy thinking. Number 2. In 1953, the Central Intelligence Agency launched a secret research program known as MK-Ultra. The project was overseen by CIA chemist Sidney Gottlieb and funded through a network of universities, hospitals, and research institutions. Its goal was to explore methods of psychological manipulation and mind control during the Cold War. Researchers experimented with a variety of techniques. These included hypnosis, sensory deprivation, psychological conditioning, and powerful drugs. One of the substances most frequently used was LSD, which at the time was still largely unknown to the public. In some experiments, individuals were given the drug without their knowledge or consent. One of the most infamous sub-projects was known as Operation Midnight Climax. Safe houses were established in cities including San Francisco. There, individuals were unknowingly dosed with LSD, while CIA operatives observed their behavior from behind one-way mirrors. In the early 1970s, investigations by the U.S. Senate's Church Committee uncovered evidence of the program. But just before those investigations began, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of many MK-Ultra records. As a result, the full scale of the experiments may never be completely known. Which brings us to number 1. Long before the digital age reached its current level, intelligence agencies had already begun building systems capable of monitoring communications across the globe. One of the most well-known examples was Echelon. This signals intelligence network was reportedly operated by the Five Eyes Alliance, an intelligence partnership between the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The system was designed to intercept satellite communications, radio transmissions, and other electronic signals around the world. As technology advanced, the ability to filter and analyze enormous amounts of data increased dramatically. Computers could search communications for keywords, patterns, or specific targets. Supporters argued these systems were essential for identifying threats and preventing attacks. Critics warned they created the potential for unprecedented levels of surveillance over entire populations. What once sounded like science fiction, the monitoring of global communications on a massive scale, gradually became a documented reality. And this brings us back to the detail I mentioned at the beginning. In nearly every one of these cases, the truth did not emerge immediately. Sometimes it took decades. Sometimes it required whistleblowers. Sometimes the information only surfaced after documents were declassified years later. Which raises an interesting question. If some conspiracies were once dismissed as impossible, yet later confirmed by official records, how many other stories today might one day follow the same path? And where do you personally draw the line between healthy skepticism and suspicion? Let me know what you think. Subscribe to Real or Make Believe for more.